Hello everyone, welcome to my April reviews. Every month I like to wrap up and talk about everything I've consumed that month and whether or not I would recommend them. And this month there was a lot happening this month, so we're gonna talk through all of that. But before I do, I am filming this on the 1st of May, so I've got a very exciting month up ahead of me. But you, I think, are watching this early June, because in this month of May I'm going to try and upload a series of me singing imperfect covers. So by the time you're watching this, that will be over. Let me know what you thought of it. Was it okay? Did you enjoy it? Would you like to see more? Would you like to see less? Well, maybe don't tell me that, but yeah, I'm nervous about it now, but by the time you're watching this, it'll be done. So let's jump into last month's favourites. Now, first of all, I always talk about movies. I saw quite a few movies this month, more than my average. First of all, I saw The Prince of Egypt, in keeping with it being Pesach. And I've not seen that movie in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it, or even if you have, you'd be surprised. Go watch it again, it's great. Next, The Emperor's New Groove, which I also hadn't seen in quite a while, but it's a film I really like, and I continue to really like. It was fun. It felt like it was more fast-paced than I remembered it, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Then, on my plane journey home from Australia, they had The Salt Path, which is a book I read, a non-fiction book I read earlier this year actually, I think. And I liked the book, but I also had some qualms with it. And I think that might have seeped into my watching of the film. Also, yes, I was on a plane and probably emotional and tired. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I can't really remember. It wasn't even that long ago. I do think I preferred the book, but I also think the characters did annoy me a little, which is really horrible to say because they're real people. But I don't know, I feel like that's easier to say about a film than about the book. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the film. I don't know. I think if you're choosing between the film and the book, I would recommend the book, but it's very rare that I wouldn't recommend the book. So, I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. And finally, I saw the new Superman movie. I'm not really, well, I never was into like superhero movies, and then Wayne very much got me into Marvel, and we've been watching all of that, but Superman isn't Marvel, and I wasn't so sure how I would feel about it, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was very bright, which I enjoyed. I know DC is, I think, known for making darker films, like literally lighting-wise, so I enjoyed being able to see colour. And yeah, just overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it had a clear, good plot, and like fun little bits, and nice characters, so overall I would recommend it. Then for TV shows, I've just got one, and I think I only might have watched 2, maximum 3 episodes of it so far. It's a Norwegian or Danish show, I can't remember, called The Asset, and it's about, well, I don't really know, but I think they're trying to take down this like drug boss through someone, like not a police officer, but someone goes undercover to try and become friends with the wife or something like that. As I say, I only watched 2 or 3 episodes of it. I do want to watch the rest, but my Netflix isn't always good here, because I'm no longer on the Australian, whatever, it's a whole thing. But yeah, so far from what I've seen, I would recommend it. I definitely was intrigued, and I want to see how it continues and what happens. Now, onto books. We ended up with quite a lot. I didn't think we would have very many in April, and then all of a sudden towards the end of the month, the numbers shot up. So to begin with, I read a Dutch book. I did have a physical copy of it, but I left it in Australia. It's called Knalhart. It's by Kaya Casimir, and it's a book that I probably got when I was younger from my father. He used to give us for Hanukkah 1 or 2 Dutch books every year, and I think that probably was in this category. That being said, this was probably more, well, it was like young adult, maybe even middle grade, I don't know what it's called, fiction, so slightly below like my current reading level, although I do read young adult books now, so I don't know. But my overall thoughts were that it was good, but a bit childish, and it didn't feel super relevant to me. I think even if I'd read this, call it 10, 15 years ago, I just think the type of character and the environment they were in just was not relatable to me. That doesn't mean, I mean, I read a lot of books where the characters aren't relatable to me, but I feel like the message of this book didn't work on me because I just didn't need it, and I wasn't in that environment even as a child, thankfully. But I do think it could be important for certain people, and especially like of that younger age and in that sort of environment. That being said, I really enjoyed reading like a physical book and a Dutch book. That I think was the first Dutch book of the year. I don't read very many Dutch books, but I do enjoy it, and I enjoyed this. Next, I read Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. Now, I've left myself some notes from when I finished reading it, but now at the end of the month, I cannot recall pretty much anything from that book. I wonder if I read it while on the plane home, again from Australia, but I'm struggling, like I'm racking my brain trying to remember, but I'll read out the notes I left for myself. I said it was interesting and I liked the stories, but I'm not sure if it was helpful for me. It seems to be more so for CEOs and coaches, etc. Reading that back, I feel like I'm remembering little tidbits of it. And yeah, I think it's a really good book for people in like high managerial roles to read, and to give that chance to people who they might not otherwise. I'm not in that position, and I don't feel like I need that encouragement where I'm at right now. So it didn't feel very relevant to me. And I've mentioned before, I really struggle with self-help books. This wasn't really a self-help book, but because it just didn't really matter to me, well, matter's the wrong word, maybe affect me, I don't know. I don't think it was as effective, I guess. Next, I read The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary, which I did enjoy. I'm going to read my notes, but I do remember it. So overall, I did enjoy it, but it was the audiobook, and it was read by Carrie Hope Fletcher, which is one of the reasons why I read it, or chose to listen to it. But I felt like, because it was Carrie, I was like almost distracted by the fact that it was her, and also the main character does remind me a lot of Carrie, which is a good thing, but then it made me less immersed in the fiction of it, I think. And that was a shame to me because I actually did really like the characters. But I just felt like it wasn't as fun because I was like, oh, this is just Carrie. You know, I don't know, I can't explain that. But I did think it was a sweet read and I would recommend it. And it was just a cute story. So if you're looking for something like lighthearted and sweet, I would recommend it, definitely. Next, I read The Shelf by Helly Acton, I think is her name, yeah. I read this super quick. This was an ebook, so not an audiobook, and I think I finished it in 2, maybe 3 days. Really, really fast. And I get the point of it. I get the questions it's trying to raise, but I found it a really frustrating book. That being said, when I was thinking about my book of the month, because every month I try and choose a book of the month, this one came close. It didn't win, but it came close, even though it was such a frustrating read. And the thing is, it tackles misogynistic views and misogynists full stop, and the idea of basically just horrible men and people in relationships and how the men treat the women, etc. And also just the expectations of a man in a relationship with a woman, all these things. And it's just I have lived this, and not in any relationship, but just in the world, being a woman, and maybe, I don't know, maybe men notice it too, but as someone who has gone through life, born and raised as a woman, you just notice misogyny in everything. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. I do. And I have since I was a small child. I always had issues with which boys want to carry the chairs. I always put up my hand. I would be like, I'm picking up a chair, whatever. It's a whole thing. And people would make fun of me for being feminist and whatever. I don't get why that's a thing, but whatever. But as you can tell, it gets me riled up. And I think reading a whole book about it where I couldn't do anything about it, and I couldn't say anything, and it was just I know what the point of it was, but I didn't need to be reading about it. I know what it is. But it was a good book, so I'm very torn. I just think it's hard. I just think it's hard when you've been so hyper aware of misogyny your whole life to then read a whole book that's basically about misogyny, even though it's meant to be casting a reflective eye on it. So yeah, but I did enjoy the book, so I'm very mixed about it. We'll move on. The next one was The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. This was a book that was on my to-read list because of Emma Watson. Emma Watson on Goodreads years ago, I think about 10 years ago, started a book club, which was called Our Shared Shelf. And I read a couple of books on that list. I don't think I got very far. I read The Colour Purple and Not My Life on the Road, but the other one by Gloria Steinem, and All About Love by Bell Hooks. And I think most of those, I really liked The Colour Purple, but the other two I think went a bit over my head. But I'd kept it on my to-read list, this one, and I just thought, finally, it's time. And it was a short book, and it was nearing the end of April, and I was like, perfect, I can try and smash this out while I'm at work. And I'm gonna be honest, I really struggled with this book. When I finished it, I had to look at the reviews, and it was mostly very, very positive and people who really highly praised it. And then there were a couple of people like me for whom it kind of just went over their heads. And that could just as much be a reflection on me as on the writing. A lot of the book was very, I don't know, academic, I would say. And I do consider myself an academic person, but I think the type of writing and the themes were just, I just wasn't grasping it. And I found it really hard to keep my attention onto the book. As I say, it was a short book. I think it was like 140 pages. And every like 2 paragraphs, I would have to like stop reading and do something else. I just really struggled to concentrate. And I found it very hard to like make sense of. That being said, the last 30 or so pages were, I don't know if they were written differently. I felt like they were more personal, and there was a juxtaposition there that I really liked. So those 30 pages, I'm so glad it ended on that, because that actually bumped up my score for it. I think if that hadn't been there, it would have been a lower score for me. But yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I think also, to be fair to me, I went in knowing absolutely nothing about the book. I didn't even realize it was non-fiction. I thought it was a fictional story about like explorers, just based off the title alone. So like I went in with completely the wrong mindset. So again, take it with a grain of salt, and if you are interested, you should read it. Don't let my opinion inform yours. But if you have read it, I would be curious to see where on the spectrum you lie with it, and if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't, or if you're also mixed. Then I read The Courage to be Disliked by Fumitake Koga and Ishiro Kishimi, and I had really high hopes for this book because my friend recommended it to me, a friend who I trust with her opinions a lot, and I don't know, she was giving it glowing reviews, glowing praise, and it just didn't hit it for me. This one was an audiobook, and I wonder if, again, it's one of those that I should have read as a physical book. I liked, in theory, the style of it, because it did feel, it's a non-fiction book where the philosopher is trying to tell you about this branch of philosophy. I can't tell you, I finished this book, I can't tell you anything about, well, maybe one thing about this type of philosophy and like way of living. But yeah, just like, I don't know, but the way it's written is there's a student and the teacher, and it feels almost like a podcast, as I say, like it's just, there's a back and forth. It's not just completely dumping information on you. I don't know what it was about it. I think the philosopher, the character of the philosopher was like grating on me. And I think I didn't necessarily agree with the philosophy, or even more at least not, I didn't feel I needed it. And again, this comes a little bit back to that self-help thing where I was like, this felt like a self-help book and I don't want any more self-help books. I've really struggled with them almost every time I've read one. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe I do feel like I want to revisit it at some point, because I'm sure I've missed important, useful things. But it just wasn't the right time, I think, for me. And I found it hard to follow. Now, finally, I read The Graveyard Book by no, actually, I don't want to say who it was by. I'm just going to beep that, because I think they shouldn't have any airtime. And this is the same as with some other books, including Harry Potter. I used a library to read this, so I'm hoping that means, like, you know, a slight separation of art from artist. And annoyingly, this book was really good. I was hoping it would kind of fall on the same page as Coraline, which I read, was it earlier this year or last year? I can't remember. And, like, didn't love. It was okay, but didn't love. But no, this one I really enjoyed. I liked the characters, I liked the world, I liked the setting. There was an underlying theme that I could follow, and I liked the magic. It made sense to me. So yeah, I would recommend it, but try and maybe get a copy secondhand is what I would recommend. Alright guys, we made it to the end of the books. Only 20 minutes in. My goodness, this is long. I thought I was going through it fast, but I guess not. Right, let's crack on. There's not that much else. I have 2 shows that I saw, actually 3. I haven't put the third one on there. 3 shows I saw this month. First of all, Kinky Boots, which I saw in London, and I've vlogged my thoughts on it. I enjoyed seeing it again, but I preferred the version I saw in like 2016, 2017. But yeah, I had a good time. I'll just leave it at that. As I say, I'm going to be vlogging about it, which will come out soonish maybe, so you can get a better idea of my thoughts there. And then the other 2 were both Starkid ones again, The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals and Black Friday. We are going to see The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals in London in May, so we want to try and rewatch everything and get all the lore ready before we go and see it in person. And I mean, I've spoken about these before. I love those musicals. I love Starkid. I think The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals is still my favourite out of those 2 and out of the 3, although I've only seen the third one once, so we'll have to rewatch it this month and I'll let you know. But yeah, it's got a good balance of comedy and darkness, whereas I feel like Black Friday is definitely darker. And same with the other one. But yeah, overall, enjoyed them. Would highly recommend Star Kid. Check out their YouTube channel. They upload all their full-length musicals online for free for us to enjoy. So I would recommend. Then on to beauty/fashion. I've got two things. Number one is really, really silly, and I can't remember. I bought these in Australia, but I can't remember if it was Target or Kmart. They are quarter crew socks. They are just a pair of socks, or 5 pairs of socks. But it's made me realise that all my running training, I trained for a 10K and then I trained for a half marathon, all of which were not in great socks, and I'm realising how much of a difference good socks make. It's crazy. And like, these weren't that expensive. I think it was maybe $10 for 5 pairs, so that's like £5, so £1 per pair. And I'd be tempted to see if I could get some more next time I go to Australia or next time someone comes here, even though I don't really need them. But they are so, I don't know, they just make such a difference. They make my feet feel better. That's all I can say. And if you're running or doing any exercise or walking a lot, I would just recommend investing in a good pair of socks. This isn't even investing. As I say, it's £1 per pair. But anyway, that's that. And then alongside that, I finally bought new boots. I got these ones. I think these were maybe $12, so about £6, and they're not perfect. I do really like them. I like the fact that they're slip-in, but I also would prefer a zip. And the heel is just ever so slightly higher than I would probably choose. But as I say, they were £12, and I've been wearing them almost every day since I got back, and they make me happy. It's nice to have a pair of boots that I can wear again that are not my snow boots. But again, while breaking them in, it's been great to have the new pairs of socks because that's made a big difference. And then the last review is an other, and it's a game. It's Pandemic, which I actually was introduced to, would you believe it, March 2020. I found out some pretty rubbish news early March 2020, I think it was the 5th. And that weekend, whatever the weekend was, my friends were going to a board game cafe and invited me round to like help cheer me up. And we found Pandemic and we thought, hey, that's funny because, you know, there's a pandemic pretty much looming. So we played it. That was the first time I played it and I really liked it. And then I sort of never thought about it again. Although I did tell my parents to get it for my family because we're a big board game family and I thought it would be a good one. And lo and behold, they bought it at some point, I don't know when, but I played it a lot while I was in Australia. I won every time, would you believe it? And I like it. I really like it. I like the strategy of it, and more than anything, I like that it's a team game. I much, much, much prefer games where you're in teams rather than just on your own fighting against each other. So yeah, I really like it, and actually they bought an expansion pack as well, so there were different versions that we played. We still won every time, but yeah, I would recommend it. It's a great game. And then finally, I always like to end my reviews with a song of the month. This could be something I listen to a lot, or sung a lot, or whatever else. And then at the end of the year, when I'm looking at my Spotify wrap up, I like to see if that sort of coincides. And this month, initially I thought this was going to be hard to choose. And then there was a song that came up randomly on my Spotify one day. I feel like it's been harder to discover new songs recently, but this one just happened to come up, and it's not a new song, but it's a new version of an old song that I used to listen to quite often on the radio. And it's One Night in Bangkok from Chess, but the new version of Chess. And since I've listened to it accidentally, I've added it to my playlist and I play it almost every day. It's a fun song, and it's so satisfying the way they sing it. So that's my song of the month. That's the end of the reviews. Thank you so much for sticking around for all 25 minutes of it, although it will be shorter for you. Let me know some of the things you enjoyed in April, and the May ones will be coming up soon as well. Everything's had to be shifted a little bit because of the May thing I've done. But I will see you all in another video very soon. Bye!